to go against that based on feelings. See, that's the thing. You can make an active choice to go against something that you've done in the past, say, but what's that motivated by? What's that particular choice? That the choice to say, I'm no longer going to do this. Like, let's take maybe it's more of a broad example, but I suppose it maybe follows the same pattern. Like, say you're battling with addiction, right? It could be addiction of any kind. What fuels the choice to say, today, I'm no longer going to do what I was doing yesterday or this morning? Do you know what I mean? What plays its role in making a different choice than that one? Maybe I'm asking a different question. I don't know. The only thing I think is programmed in us is anything we've always naturally dealt with, but we can always try to control everything we do feel. I mean, we can definitely try and control what we feel. I suppose, it's how well you control it that's like unique. Because it's like, when I think of how me trying to control the way I felt in the past, I don't know how successfully I've managed to do that. My last first date was very successful. Date number 2, not so much. Well, what can I say, bro? Sometimes you hit a jackpot on the first go, and then after that, it's kind of a bit more up in the air. Okay. See, I don't agree with that, because on principle, going on feelings to go against that action driven by the past is technically fueled by that past experience. Oh, okay. Let me read that twice. That was definitely that was an intricate reply for sure. I don't agree with that, because on principle, going on feelings to go against the action driven by the past is technically fueled by that past experience. I agree. I definitely agree. But I guess the question then becomes, if it is fueled by the past experience, does that disqualify it from being an authentic choice though? Do you know what I mean? If the choice you make is to go against your past experience, then does that negate the experience, the choice that you make in the present moment? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like we're saying, you can never really have a choice that's not influenced, at least to some degree, by the past. But how far you can take that, I do think is questionable. I think that choice comes from what really distinguishes us from other people. Oh, could you elaborate further on that? That's an intricate statement, if there ever was one. Choice comes from what really distinguishes us from other people. In the sense that we all make seemingly on the surface anyway, even at the deeper levels, choices that are different or unique. Hey, I appreciate you dropping by there, Kyle. I can't thank you enough for the 2 months of sub, bro. Anyway, take it easy. I hope you get to print in some big prints now with the new knowledge you've gained. All right. Our choices are distracted by the stronger influence of our greatest needs, desires, feelings, and or circumstances. Every choice you make is always for a reason. So either all your choices are genuine choices or they're not. That's simple to me. That is fair. I guess it's kind of like, of course, every choice you make is for a reason, right? But I guess I'm trying to like understand a bit further for myself. It's like, how much control do we have over those reasons? Do you know what I mean? Like, how much influence can you actually exert over those reasons? Like, when it comes to something like having a good job, or like status, or like wanting to be quote unquote successful, like, there's a reason why we want those things, right? The rewards, like the financial security, the respect in society, the feeling of self-worth, the feeling of fulfilling purpose, right? But at the same time, though, it's like, are the choices that we make solely based on the consequences? Or are they based on... maybe, let me rephrase that, doesn't necessarily make sense. We have as much as control as we try to exert on other things. So it's based on how much you try to control something. Interesting. That's definitely a way that like I look at it. That's definitely not a way that I have been looking at it. So you think you can only have as much control as you exert? Because I would say for me, to give you like a personal insight into the way that I perceive like reality, I think that we have at most 50% control over anything. I think you can only have, in my opinion, you can only have control over yourself. And even that is questionable. Because there's so many things that go into who you are and what you are, right? The decisions that you make. Like, your past plays the most intricate role in that. But when it comes to the control that I can have over things external to myself, it's kind of like, how much control do I really have? Like, it seems like I have control, right? Because I exercise my will. But it's like, I think the other 50% is externally. Like, it's factors beyond my control. So, say we're having a conversation right now, right? I can control what I say, but I can't control what you say. And so, what you say is going to influence what I say next. Because that's what, obviously that's just what it is to have a conversation. But if I say something, I can't say it with the certainty or knowledge that what I say will lead to a particular response, which will then allow me to then say something further beyond that. Do you know what I mean? Like, anything that I say has to be met with an external response that I have no control over whatsoever. If you don't try to control anything in your life, you won't have much control over anything. The American government has literally and successfully controlled the weather over another country during the Vietnam War era. If that can be controlled even to an extent, anything can. You make a very great, valid point. Oh, sorry, I missed out what you said first. It's the consequence of the choice. Well, actually, it's the perceived consequence of that choice. Exactly. It is the perceived consequence of that choice. But that's what I mean. You can't even control the consequence, right? Like, you can aim at the consequence, right? You can desire to have the consequence. Yet, the actual execution of it, the fulfillment of that, it's not arbitrary, but in one sense, it seems like it's way out of your hands. Do you know what I mean? Like, say you work really hard at your job. The consequence of you working really hard is not necessarily the outcome that you desire, right? Like, even if you do the most you can, it doesn't mean that your business will be successful. It doesn't mean that you'll save that patient. Do you know what I mean? That, to me, that's why I think that we can only, to me anyway, obviously if you disagree, I understand. This is just my perspective. But to me, it seems like I don't have complete control over that much. I feel like at most I can have 50% control. Like, I don't even feel like I could have 51%. They would literally make it rain in Vietnam during the time, more often to affect Viet Cong operations morale through releasing chemicals to the sky to induce inclement weather more often. Bro, human beings have gone so far with it. Imagine to the point where we can make it rain actively. Like, obviously it's just through manipulation of like you're saying, certain chemicals, like certain reactions in the sky and the clouds. But like, that's phenomenal. Like, shit. But you know what's more funny? Like, America didn't even win that war. Like, they tried fucking hard, but still didn't win that war. Maybe humanity's another goal is to take control of as much as it can in its mortal life. And see, what you're saying there, Gapoy, I think is like, that's so potently true that like I don't have words to express it, because I feel like so much of what we try and do when it comes to the life sciences, when it comes to like building our societies, when it comes to like the things that you watch on TV, so much of it seems like it's about like controlling every aspect of it. But like, it's funny because like the more I observe it, the more I see that like, where is the control? Like, where does the control lie? I feel like anything can be manipulated. I think it's more about learning what are those factors that allow you to take control. But maybe that's an entirely different conversation. I do agree that anything can be manipulated. Look, like, you can exert influence on anything, or you can at least try. I believe that you can at least try. I think what you're saying about learning the factors is like, that's what, to me, like, that's what I believe self-awareness is, right? I believe that self-awareness is understanding the factors within yourself that contribute to something like a decision making or like choice. And I just feel like if you don't know those factors, are you still making an informed voluntary choice? Do you know what I mean? But then again, how far does it go? How many factors do you need to know in order for the choice to be, to make sense? God damn. If you don't try to take control of as much as you can, someone else will. Facts. This is what we were talking. This is what I was actually talking about this the other day, and this permeates into a lot of different areas. Even if it's not your life, even if it's not your lifetime, or at the same time you're trying to control a thing, someone down the line of existence will try and take control of anything you've laid your eyes on in their life for whatever reason they may be. That's so true. And this comes into, like, to me anyway, the way I'm trying to see this is kind of like, how much should I try and exert my own level of control over other things, or like things that I want? Like, do I come at it like, I've got to control this? Like, if I don't control this factor, and this could be things like my relationships, right? And it could be my relationships within business or whatever. Like, if I don't set things up to be on this date or that date or that date, and it doesn't go in the way that I want it to, then how am I relinquishing control? And if I don't control things from the get-go, can that control be reclaimed? I'm gonna brew some coffee because I'm off tomorrow. Hey, I'm sure you deserve it, Kapoy. I'm sure you've been out here saving these lives. On the topic of manipulation, have you thought that the novel coronavirus is a way to control? Have you thought that the novel coronavirus is a way to control the population? Damn, you're asking a real deep question, bro. Like, that's definitely conspiracy theory to a degree, right? And it's like, the question that you're posing, I think, what can the answer be? Because I guess if we look at the factors, right, and we say that if the virus is man-made, right, if the virus was created in a lab and it was used as some kind of weapon, right, as some sort of chemical weapon of war or whatever it is, then yes, it is a way of controlling the population. Like, I've seen videos today and yesterday of places in China where it's ghost town. Like, literally 2 weeks ago, the streets were bustling. Like, there couldn't be more people. Now, gone. Subway, no one's using it. Like, that is a definitely level of control. But how much control we have over that virus is another question. Definitely. I prefer to coin it the heightened or large scale management of resources. Damn, that's some advanced shit. But thinking into the sudden onset and spread of the disease and mass hysteria, conditions such as heart disease and influenza causes much more deaths daily than the new coronavirus. I think, though, factually you're right, but I guess when it comes to like you're saying, maybe the manipulation or control of civilizations or societies, the coronavirus carries like a level of it's like you're saying, hysteria, right? Like, it's got a big unknown factor. Like, it's not been heard about before for the majority of people. Like, if you started saying, like, if it was on the news, right? Oh, the flu has taken out 500 people, which is a lot of lives. I don't think people would be as panicked as they have been about the coronavirus infecting like a few people, because like the coronavirus is completely unknown. Do you know what I mean? Control is an aspect of psychology of serial killers. Oh, that's a deep one, because the concept of control itself is fascinating, but I'll sidestep that for now, because I don't know how I don't know how much there is to gain in that particular aspect right now. I don't think so. Diseases like this are very hard to control. It would be too risky in such a packed area, but I do think the government could use the problem to their advantage and kill off problematic people. These problematic people would have to be extremely dangerous too. Or extremely dangerous though. I guess this is the thing though, right? Like, do they have to be dangerous, or can you use coronavirus to take out homeless people? Do you know what I mean? Can you use coronavirus to infect low income neighborhoods and take out like problem people, like criminals? Because we know that poverty is the biggest contributing cause to crime, right? And so if you can eliminate people that are impoverished through something like that disease, maybe you can have a direct result on levels of crime. But I'm extrapolating quite heavily. I don't necessarily think that's true. Manipulation has a negative reputation to it. Do you think so? I have mixed feelings about manipulation. Like, manipulation is positive until it's used against me. Let me put it like that. I'm playing, by the way. Yeah, I do think it does have I do think manipulation has a negative taboo surrounding it. Management is a less cynical sounding term. I don't know though, like, when you talk about being micromanaged, that's getting into the area of like heavy manipulation, right? Heavy control. So it's tough, but I know exactly what you mean though, and I do agree. Dangerous enough to warrant large chunks of populace to die. I guess we have to see, like, obviously this coronavirus is no joke, like, clearly. But in terms of like mass spread death, I don't know. I can only wait and see. Like, I have no idea. Because I feel like they said this same shit about Ebola, bro. And I don't feel like Ebola had that impact. Like, that, I think they said it would. But this is a whole different thing. And like, you know what I mean? I don't have the knowledge to say that it wouldn't. In areas where they're struggling for resources, the area is completely overpopulated. Yeah. Big facts. We're used to treating and dealing with old threats, but coronavirus is unknown, and also media is always going to hype it with bad science. Yeah, big talk. Has anyone seen the series Utopia on Channel 4? Yes, bro. Utopia was fucking deep, man. I can't believe they cancelled it. I wish they'd gone on to do a few more, but that one was so deep. That was a proper UK documentary, though. That was like, wow. I'd recommend it to anybody that watched it, but viewer discretion is advised. It has not takes double the vitamins, but it's really gone from 4 to 8 now. Yeah, I mean, that's just in the UK though, right? Like, I don't know what the numbers are like in America or in China. Everyone's got the potential to be a serial killer. Potentially. I would agree with that. But some people would say that, like, you don't. Like, maybe there are people that genuinely believe that being a serial killer is completely genetic. Like, you have like a killing gene. But people can be genetically more prone to be a serial killer and experience certain psychotic tendencies. So they say anyway, right? So they say. I don't know how much I agree, but I don't know the science to anywhere near enough to disagree. Let me put it like that. What you said about populations is so true, but those individuals in poverty are more likely to live in conditions that would exacerbate the virus and less likely to be able to fight off the infection. Big facts. Plus, I mean, they're not going to be getting treatment, right, either, because they're poor. I mean, and poor people don't get to be treated from these things. The whole thing about homeless people, I agree. They're definitely at a higher risk as they are elderly. As are the elderly, sorry. And the population is living longer and causing problems globally. Oh, man, that's a whole different debate, bro. Do you think that having an aged population is bad though? Because it's like, sure, it takes way more resources to like take care of the elderly population, but at the same time though, like, I feel like there's so much to be gained and learned from the elderly population, purely like, I just mean like semantically, like purely in the conversations and dialogue that we can have with them, that I kind of feel like it's worth the burden that it puts on resources, that it puts on like healthcare, etc. Because it's mainly healthcare that's getting affected, right? Or even families. But I don't know though, like the way that the elderly population is treated is so different culture to culture. Like in Japan, bro, not the homeless people, sorry, the elderly people, man, it's like they're not even elderly. It's crazy. Like their mentality is so different. You know, I've never thought about it like that, but I think it is possible for the government to use it on areas like that. But I just don't know if they would be that desperate for reducing overpopulation. I don't think so either. Personally, like, I don't think so either. That would be a mad bold move, but conspiracy theories, right? I'm not a high up in any government chain or military chain, so I can't say that they wouldn't. But I'm dubious though. I'm doubtful that they would do that, because I kind of feel like it's not that bad. Surely it's not that bad. You got to take out homeless people. Like, that's ridiculous. Overpopulation is a thing that the government has been dealing with for a long time now. But I'm not sure if the government would be so desperate to fix the problem through that route. I don't even know if the government could do anything about it, to be honest. Like, we've seen in China, with like the way they try to limit population growth through things like they had laws, right, for how many children that a family could have, and it was limited to what, 1 or 2. And like, how long did that last? Like, you can't control people like that. I just really don't think you can. You can choose to be a serial killer. Look at the puzzle game Serial Killers that tease investigators with their deranged logic. Some people may just get too bored with themselves and start to take on a godlike personality that makes them think that they're powerful enough to get away with even taking lives if they're smart enough about it. Facts. Big facts. But I mean, firstly, being a serial killer, I think, is a bit unique, because that being a serial killer means that you go on and kill multiple people, right? Is it any more than 3? I think if you kill more than 3 people, that makes you a serial killer, or a mass murderer as well. But oh man, what motivates you to be a serial killer is completely unique, right? Fuck. I don't have those tendencies myself, in the sense that I can understand the logic rationally, conceptually, behind being a serial killer. And I think it plays heavily into what you said, right? Like the untouchable perspective. Like, I'm untouchable. That's how it feels like for some of these people. But I don't know. Personally, my empathy is too high. My personal empathy is too high to take the life of another person. So it's a struggle for me. But I don't know. There's clearly a certain amount of the populace that have reduced, negligible, or 0 levels of empathy, and I think that in itself goes to prove that, like, you quite clearly can be a serial killer. Be a serial killer if you want to be, but then again, I can't say if you don't want to be. I think is if you just actually murder people more than once. It doesn't have to include a pattern or anything, I believe. People associate patterns with serial a lot, because I think of media. I guess so. I thought serial just meant, more than 2 or something, like, more than 1, I guess. But I guess when it comes to the pattern of behavior that you do, like you cut off people's feet as your particular serial killing style, that's just a weird fetish thing to me. That's your unique fetish. Like, I don't know. I have no idea I couldn't begin to think about why people do some of the shit they do. I'm more scared of people with self-righteous God complexes than straight up serial killers. People that are convinced they know what's best and will do what they can is deemed to be the right choice for you. Oh, I totally agree, bro. But like, it's funny because that seems to be the, like, that's how people want to act, right? Like, that's what's preached in a majority of the Abrahamic religions, right? It's that there is ultimately a correct way. There's ultimately a specific choice or specific set of choices that can be made that is ultimately correct. And so some people will use that and interpret that as like, my life is worth more than their lives, or their lives are negligible and as such subject to whatever I choose. And we've seen this manifested time and time again. This is what happened to the Tutsis, or is it the Well, the Rwandan genocide. Let me say, I can't remember which way around it was, but the Rwandan genocide. Obviously the original genocide in World War II with the killing of, what was it, 6 million Jews? Like, that's an exact example of someone thinking, I know what's right, and I'm a execute on that. But, oh man, that's delusion. It's just delusion. That's what that is. People that are convinced that they know what's best and will do what they deem right is the right choice for you. Doctors. To a degree, it is though, right? Like, it is like, doctors do make that decision, or they do hold up that status. But in the particular instances of being a doctor, it's based on quote unquote objective criteria, right? We trust that a doctor, having been informed medically, having been informed as a result of numerous years and decades of experience, they know what the right thing to do is if you're in medical need. Do you know what I mean? So in a certain sense, I think it's fine for a doctor to have that attitude. And to be honest with you, I'll ask you a counter question, bro. Would you want a doctor that didn't think they knew what the right choice was? Because I wouldn't. I wouldn't want a doctor that ummed and ahed. I wouldn't want a doctor that was like, maybe this is the right thing to do. Do you know what I mean? So it's a fine line. I got into a fist fight with my dad recently because of his self-righteous attitude as the man of his home. Fucking hell, bro. The fact that you got into a fist fight with your dad, there's nothing. I'm sorry that you got into that, but like, respect, bro. Respect. I wouldn't fist fight my dad. Let me put it like that. I wouldn't fist fight my dad. And like, yeah. But that's beside the point. Imagine if he was any more delusional and deranged. Becoming a killer is never too far from becoming. Fuck, you're right, bro. Yeah. You're right, man. And like, I guess I count myself as fortunate or blessed that any given day, I'm not subject to having to do, thus far, touch wood anyway, I've not had to do anything like that. I've not been subject to the opportunity to take a life. Let me put it like that. Like, let me just put it like that. Doctors should never think they're above anyone else. That's true. That's big facts. Like, there's nothing worse than a person like that. There really isn't. They have a job that just required more studying. Fuck, man. Shit. Damn. Okay, guys. I'm gonna leave the stream here, but like, this has left me with a lot of food for thought that I want to sit on. We've actually covered a lot of different like areas and topics that are actually a lot more fascinating when looked at through this lens. So yeah, interesting. But anyway, I appreciate everyone that dropped through now and like contributed in the chat, etc, etc. I'll be back at it again tomorrow, same time. So yeah, around 6 p.m. UK to around 8 p.m. UK time. Yeah, we'll be coming through the chats, bro. But yeah, peace, guys. Take care. Have good evenings, days, wherever you are, man. I'll catch you guys next time. Sweet.